Before the academy, of course, I kind of wanted to dive in just a little bit on how I got into pageantry in general, because of course that led me to the academy. But I did a couple pageants as a teen, mostly as like confidence building and speaking skills. And I never really did them at that point, like to win or to do anything like that. Like I just wanted to have fun, have a good time. I met a ton of friends. And then I got married and had a couple of kids. And so I didn't think about pageantry at all after that point, until one of my friends who I met during a pageant as a teenager, who also became a mother and was married, announced that she was doing a Mrs. Pageant. And it had never occurred to me that those were a thing and that I could do one, and seeing her strength and her determination to do one. And she was only, I think, about 6 months postpartum. And so that was really inspiring to me. And so I reached out to her to let her know how proud of her I was that she was jumping back into it. And she actually ended up moving back into state and really encouraged me to join her on that adventure again and be able to compete with her again, just like we did when we were teenagers. And so I joined up. It was definitely a journey that was calling in my heart, in my soul. I knew that it was something that I wanted to do again. A little me time, I suppose. As a wife and a mother, sometimes we just need to do something for ourselves. Yes. And it was nice because it also gave me the excuse to really be more involved in the community like I wanted to, but I just never made the time for it until I had a title, which sounds ridiculous. But sometimes we just need that little extra push. And that was what I needed. And so I went and I competed, and it was so much fun. I didn't do a ton of preparation. I did a lot of community work because that's where my heart was. And during that pageant is when I met Alycia. She was our judge. I didn't really listen to a ton of her podcasts or know a whole lot about her journey prior. I probably listened to maybe one. So I didn't really know her process at the time, and I was not giving her the answers that she was probably looking for, and that's okay. Like I said, I wasn't doing it, at that point to win. I was doing it for, to build more friendships and to just have something for me. But after I met her and I got to sit down with her and have, our judging panel, and speak to her a little bit afterwards, I just felt really connected to her. Like, I was like, we're both kind of petite-ish women, and we're both moms, and I don't know, brunettes. I just felt like we had a lot in common, and I loved her energy. If you couldn't tell, I kind of have some energy, and she kind of has some energy. And so I felt like we just clicked. Yes. I trusted her like right away. I loved her. So I started following her, on all the social medias, all those things. And just a month or so after that pageant, she was hosting a jumpstart. And I didn't have another pageant lined up afterwards. Like I said, I did it for fun. I didn't think I would do another one at that point in time. But I joined the jumpstart anyway, because I knew that there was going to be a lot more skills that I could learn from the jumpstart that don't just apply to pageantry, that would also just apply to everyday life skills. So I went in, I jumped in, and I just loved everything that she was saying, all the speakers that she had in there. There was just so much value in the jumpstart. It just like blew my mind. And one thing that I really latched onto was the idea of the legacy project. Like I said, I wanted an excuse to get back involved in the community, and her idea of the legacy project to me was really inspiring because I had more control over like my timeline. As a mother, as a wife, my time can be kind of scattered. And it's very valuable to me. So having a little bit more control over when I could give back to the community and in what way, it was really encouraging. So I dove in, I did her free online course. I think that was the biggest one for me at that time. The Jumpstart came and went. I didn't sign up for the academy at that time. I had thought about it, but I didn't at that time. And I do regret that, but that's another point. So I went, I did all of her online courses. I listened to more podcasts, the YouTube series, all that amazing content that she has out there available for us. And I started picking out little pieces of what I wanted my legacy project to be. But I also had a lot of doubt in myself. I would put, like Tiffany said, I would put a couple hours into it a week, and I didn't feel like I made much growth in my legacy project at that time. I just had so many, like, is this the right thing that I should be doing? Like, so much uncertainty was going on that it wasn't a great use of my time to be second guessing myself in that way. So a couple months had gone by since that first jumpstart, and another jumpstart came out. And I was like, okay, this time, like, I'm going in, I'm taking so much more notes, like, I'm going to do this thing. And I actually had signed up for Petite USA at that point. So there I was, a fresh new title, and I knew that I was going to nationals in not too long. And I did the jumpstart again. And she introduced the academy, and I had some hesitations the first time around, mostly financially, I'm not going to lie. But I knew that when it was introduced to me again, that it was not only going to be worth every single penny, that it was going to be worth so much more in terms of my time. Like, I would be able to cruise through it so much faster just by being able to ask Trinity or Crystal or Nancy or Alycia, like, is this what I should be doing with my legacy project? And a simple yes from them, or no, let's tweak that a tiny bit, would just save me so much time, like, so much time. I didn't have to worry about the uncertainty anymore. I either got the confirmation that I needed to move forward or a great idea on how to pivot it slightly. And so that's why I think I was able to have so much growth in my pageantry journey, but also in my legacy project as a whole. So that that whole time frame actually wasn't very long, you guys. The pageant that Alycia judged me in and the national pageant that I competed in, they were only 10 months apart. And everything that I did in the academy, like, I jumped in full force, and I was only in the academy for 4 months before my national pageant. And I just saw so much growth in myself, my legacy project, my family, honestly, like, we got a lot more, like, ordered. I was able to kind of schedule out my life a lot better. But I placed 3rd out of 3 at my state pageant that Alycia judged me in. And 10 months later, I placed 3rd out of 30 at a national level pageant. And so, I mean, we all want to walk away with the crown, of course, it's like a thing. That's why we're here. But I learned so many more, like, life skills, and I walked away feeling like I had won just as much as the winner had, because of course I made friendships, and I got to have a really fun weekend, wear a great dress, all that fun stuff. But I grew so much more as a person. I know that sounds kind of like, but, like, no, honestly, like, I've grown so much. And now my legacy project, like, I have so many more ideas. So my legacy project is that I was able to start a podcast, and I named it Peacemakers United. I wanted to be able to share ways for people to navigate conversations of opposing views and be able to stand true in their beliefs, but be able to share them from a place of love instead of, like, contention. And that was really big for me. And so being able to do it as a podcast, I could do it on my own time. I could launch it on my own time. And now, after the national pageant, I have so many more friends that all have platforms that they represent that I can now interview for my podcast and still be able to keep it going, and just have a really good time and keep those connections going. As Miss Nancy says, we can network for every portion of our lives. And that's exactly what we were doing there. But yeah, so that's my pageant journey, and I pretty much owe it all to the academy, every single piece of it.
I love hearing your story, but you said something that grabbed my attention, because you said with the first jump start that you wished that you had joined, and then you regretted it. So what was that like when that time passed? Like, what was going through your mind at that point?
Right. So it was 3 or 4 months in between those jump starts, that I knew I had missed the boat. I was, doing all the online courses that she has, the YouTube series, all of, like, the free content that she provides, which that in itself is incredible. But every single day that I would sit and listen to them, or that I would call my sister up, who was helping me, like, put together pieces of my legacy project, I was like, I should have just done it, because I would have been so much farther already in my legacy project and my journey and preparing for a new adventure than me I'm just sitting here and I'm struggling on my own. Like, sure, I could do it maybe if I had 5 years for my next pageant, because that would give me enough time to try and fail. but my time is so valuable and precious right now that I needed to be able to do it faster. And I knew that you guys were the answer.
Yeah.
And you were. So it was, and I do plan to take off next year because we are going to grow our family. But I already have plans to compete in 2024, and you better believe I'm going to be back in this academy, and you have not heard the last of me. So
I love it. Yay. I love all those plans for 2023 and 2024. Those
got
are
a whole
amazing
5-year plan
plans.
now. It's crazy.
I know. And I just love that the pieces that you shared about your time being so important and the value that you found when we were here as coaches, guiding you through step by step to get you to your goal faster. And
yes, it was incredible. Having office hours every week, even if I didn't have something to present, every Thursday, I'd be like, oh, I should have worked on something. Or like I did work on something and I'm ready to share it and I'm ready to like kind of check and like move on to the next piece. But either way, like having that accountability to go along with me the entire time, that was game changer.
Absolutely. Well, Capi, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's a joy to hear it. Thank you for your time today and sharing your heart with us.
Thanks.